Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise in opposition to H.R. 527, the Small Business Regulatory Flexibility Improvements Act. I oppose this legislation, which would paralyze agency rulemaking through unworkable, complex requirements while aggrandizing the powers of the Small Business Administration's Office of Advocacy with broad authority to act as the gatekeeper of our nation's regulatory system. H.R. 527 would allow for large regulated industries to manipulate the regulatory system in their favor while delaying or blocking critical safeguards to safeguard our nation's food supply, environment, and workforce. That's why the American Sustainable Business Council, a coalition of partner organizations representing over 200,000 businesses and more than 325,000 business professionals, opposed this legislation. This coalition notes that H.R. 527 would erode, quote, the operational capacity of regulatory agencies to do their jobs, end quote, allowing for the largest firms to further dominate the marketplace. In other words, H.R. 527 is a thinly veiled handout to large corporations. Mr. Chairman, Americans support smart regulation across party lines, but not deregulation. Over 70% of Americans support strong rules to ensure an open internet. By a 2-to-1 margin, Americans across the political spectrum support rules to address climate change by limiting emissions from coal-fired plants. 60% of Americans support strict regulation of financial institutions, tougher enforcement, and remain deeply concerned about dangerous financial practices. These are the same rules in the crosshairs of the radical deregulatory agenda of my Republican colleagues. Dangerous policies like H.R. 527 echo the same laissez-faire rhetoric of deregulation that led to the Great Depression and the Great Recession. H.R. 527 is more of the same. Another handout for the large corporate interests, that's what this is. Another bill designed to deregulate industries instead of promoting actual governance, to deceive Americans through fuzzy math and untried and unfounded rhetoric. Mr. Speaker, we need real solutions to help real people. We need legislation that creates middle-class security and opportunity. And we need sensible regulations that protect American families from financial ruin, that encourage competition, and that bring predatory financial practices to an end. Legislation that brings the United States in conformity with the rest of the world's employment policies by guaranteeing paid sick leave and parental leave. I should say the world's industrialized economies' employment practices. According to the Rutgers Center for Women and Work, paid family leave increases wages for women with children while saving the federal government funds that would otherwise be allocated to assistance programs. Legislation that increases our global competitiveness by creating an affordable higher education. Strong evidence from a Department of Education report roundly demonstrates that investing in our education system expands job opportunities, boosts America's competitiveness, and supports the kind of income mobility that is fundamental to a growing economy. In other words, what we need is actual governance that helps middle-class families, grows the economy, and promotes international competitiveness. What we don't need is yet another deregulatory bill that would increase complexity in our regulatory system while placing a finger on the scales in favor of corporations and against the public interest. I ask that my colleagues oppose H.R. 527, and I yield back the balance of my time.